for the viewers, a couple of weeks ago we had on Faux who I'm very pleased about having on, and they're originally from York. And when I was quite pissed, thought, you know what, I'm going to chance my arm. I'm going to message Bull. So I saw you at the Joe Talbot Secret set, and I must be honest, I was fucking blown away. And I was sort of like, this band is brilliant. And so when I was pissed, I dropped you a message, and I got a yes. And I was sort of like, what? I had to check in the morning to make sure I hadn't just imagined it. I'll give you a little introduction about them. The kind of alt-rock royalty within York and North Yorkshire, and they offer flavours of Pavement, Beach Boys, and pretty much every great 90s band you could possibly fucking think of.
I've got a Pavement t-shirt on.
Oh, that is sick. You got Pavement, I've got Idols. Brilliant. I already know this interview is going to be beautiful. But one of the best things and best lines I heard was when Jacob, the guitarist in AM, check out his interview, bought the vinyl of Perfect Teeth, and I believe it's Eugene on it, if I'm right in saying so. Right.
Yeah.
That was safe. Very safe with that. And he mentioned about he's recently signed to a major label, which we'll talk about in a bit. And the following message was, we're going to see what the men in suits can do for us, which I thought was a very entertaining sentence. But anyway, I give a warm welcome to Dan from Bull. Thanks for being here, mate. I'm glad you agreed to it.
Yeah, of course.
So I've been asking everyone, I try to avoid the generic questions, but I think you've got to ask a few just to, get a sense. Where did the name come from?
Well, we started about, I think we started in late 2011, so about 9 or 10 years ago. And we were in school, and it was just me and Tom and our friends Rory and Lewis at the time, who've since left. But I guess we were just we didn't want to take it too seriously, and I think our friend Liam suggested the name Bull, and it just seemed as good as anything else, and kind of fit with the idea that it was just a bit of a mess around,
No, that's, a good name. There's been a few people like, there's one, I always keep saying this, but there's Albert, who's a bassist in this university band called West Slater. The name came from, like, he was in the Czech Republic and he met this homeless guy who's called Slater, and he was very insightful and stuff. But your name is kind of sort of the same way my band found their name, and that was kind of said it, and I was like, oh, that sounds good. But I think Bull, obviously the idea of a bull, it does fit your sound and the kind of the music, which is nice and chorusy, and it's got that nice melody, and then all of a sudden it's just that loud Pixie sort of thing where it's like all nice and merry, and then it just punches you hard in the face. You've got 3 new singles, or newish singles. I'll differentiate from before being signed to after, and I'll talk about that in a bit. But there's Disco Living, which is my personal favourite. Everyone in AAM also loves that song. There's Green, also a brilliant song, and I didn't know until about an hour ago that you had a new song called Bonzo, Please, I believe.
Yeah.
And I gave it a quick listen, and it had everything that I love, and then some more, as expected. But because I love Disco Living so much, I was just going to ask, where did the inspiration come from for that song?
I think Tom first wrote that song when it was after a trip to London, and he was out walking in the centre of London. He saw a row of mansions that was going to be built with a billboard outside, like advertising the building project. And it had this tagline underneath the picture of what the properties would look like, which said, "Discover effortless living," which seemed like a really extreme, just kind of, quite a funny way to pitch this, I don't know, this idyllic way of living or something. So he just guess took that line and wrote the song from there. But that was probably, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, so maybe even longer. So the song's been through quite a few changes. We recorded it quite a few times before we felt like we got it right on this most recent one.
In terms of like the songs that you've released from Disco Living, Green, Bonzo Please to then Perfect Teeth and Eugene, have those songs they existed for quite a while? Necessarily. Obviously, you don't have to go in depth of like all of them really, but obviously, you see with Disco Living, that's been about for some time.
Yeah, most of the songs that we're going to be hopefully releasing an album. We don't know when, just due to COVID and everything, but hopefully sometime next year. And most of the songs on there we've been working on for the past probably 5 or 6 years, but some of them are a bit newer. The songs like Love Goo and Bedroom Floor, which were out before the signing, they were newer ones from the last couple of years. But yeah, there's quite a range. And the song Green, that was on the first album we released a long time ago, and that's the only song that's been recycled onto this new album.
Yeah. So, because it's sort of like, in a certain way, it's quite nice that there are songs that you've written that have been around for a while, but it just shows that the songs must be good, because usually a band like writes 4 songs, has some covers, does the first gig or 2, and those songs likely will get scrapped. And obviously I'm not saying, like, I don't know the exact time frame, but still the fact that they have existed for 5 or 6 years and you've even developed on them shows that something's like working and stuff. But it's cool that you've got like quite a large catalogue. Moving on to Green, which is another one of the post-signing singles. How did it feel to have that one played on Elton John's Rocket Hour?
Yeah, it was crazy, amazing. It was a bit of a shock. We didn't know they were. I still don't really know how it came about. I'm sure it must have been through the label, but they didn't tell us they were putting it forward to him or anything like that. So it was just kind of I was on holiday at the time with Tom, and we just got an email through saying Elton John's playing your song this afternoon. So it was
just yeah. really casually. Elton John's just playing a song. Just you know. Like that is like, because when we saw that Elton John was playing the song before we even knew you were signed. So when we saw that, we were sort of like, fuck me, like that is some achievement. And then we saw you were signed, and we were sort of like, oh my god, that's you know, sort of makes some sort of sense. But like, I mean, Elton John is Elton John, really, and he just
it's very, very nice surprise. Yeah, I think our first reaction was, what are we going to wear to his New Year's Eve party? We're holding out for that invite.
You get played once by Elton John, and you now think you're best friends.
Yeah,
that's funny. That the 3 songs that have been released all have acoustic guitars in them. And recently I've spoke to, it was a mate, about some frontmen opting to play an acoustic guitar instead of an electric guitar because it sounds nicer paired with an electric guitar. I was just wondering, was there any intention for acoustic to be on all 3 songs, or was it just did it just kind of happen naturally?
Yeah, I think, well, Tom has always played acoustic in the band. He probably does like a 50-50 split now, but when we were first starting out, he was always on the acoustic. So I feel like on particularly those songs, the 3 that we've just released, they've got quite like a thick sound, I guess, and we feel like it never hurts to just put like as many guitars as we can. And one of them is usually an acoustic. So yeah, I think you're right with the the way they complement each other as well live. I think it's easier to differentiate between the two guitar parts if you have an acoustic and an electric, because sometimes two electrics can get a bit muddy. But
yeah, no, I know what you mean. In terms of that, if we go from acoustic to your lead guitar, which I think I could happily say is always very, very loud and quite distorted. Do you just, is that your style? Is that what, if you came to a band, you came to a practice and Tom had a little acoustic thing, do you immediately think that, right, I'm getting on my fucking Boss distortion pedals and cranking it up to 12?
Yeah, I hope that I don't impose my, that is what I like doing the best. Like my favorite thing to do when playing with other people is like, yeah, I really like playing guitar solos, so I try and sneak them in wherever I can, but I hope I don't impose on the songs too much. I think if it's a softer song, or like, you know, I try and do what's going to best serve the song, I guess. But yeah, particularly on the earlier songs we did, it was like, here comes the chorus, just like smash on a fuzz pedal or something, because I guess we really liked bands like Dinosaur Jr. and Weezer, and I guess Pavement to a certain extent, but I guess that's where I got it from. Just like, it just makes things sound good, doesn't it, if it gets louder and fuzzier for the chorus.
No, I know. The thing with it though, it's sort of like when you go on about an acoustic guitar, an electric guitar fits, and it does fit, but I think the thing which certainly I like is that you have this acoustic guitar and then you have your electric guitar, but you take it like massively up to another level, and because you do that, it makes it sound even nicer. Because I also like to clarify for people watching, it's not all just that. You do some leads and solos where it's just like, it's nice chords and stuff like that. It's not all about that, but certainly like there's songs like on Green, there's, I don't know which section it is exactly, but there's a couple of sections where you just have this really like heavy fucking guitar just in the background, and it's really nice because it's sort of like this nice airy feel, and then fucking put right in the middle of it is just this massive crunch sort of thing, which always, every time I hear it, I'm always like, yes, this is what I want to hear. So we've briefly talked about the new releases versus the ones prior to being signed. And I would like to say, right, I'm just going to read my question, make sure it makes sense, because it's very wordy. And already I've done many a fucking interview where I've read out the question and it doesn't make sense. So of the latest releases, there's been a movement towards an acoustic sort of thing, where it's kind of there's a bit more melody, a bit more Beach Boys sort of vibes, compared to releases like kind of Perfect Teeth, where I would say that's more kind of alt rocky and that kind of Pavement sort of vibe and feel. And I was just saying, is this a movement you're making in terms of music? Are you wanting to do more this stuff than other stuff, or is it just happened by chance that these 3 new songs are how they are?
Yeah, I would say it's probably the latter, because it's all those songs that we had released before, like Perfect Teeth, they're all going to be coming on the album. So I think the main reason we didn't re-release them as singles is because, you know, we'd already had them out, so we had to pick a bunch of new singles from the same album. So I guess it's just maybe the other side of the album or something. But I don't think we've made any conscious decision to like change our sound or move from one thing to another. I think we've still got like that kind of range when we play live. We definitely don't want to ditch those other songs because we love that kind of stuff. So yeah, I think I guess it's just a different side to us or something.
No, I'm very glad that you're gonna have Perfect Teeth on the album, because that is like one of my favorite songs. So yeah, I mean, obviously you mentioned this album. Can't fucking wait for it. Is there any sneaky details you can give about it? Anything?
Well, to be honest, we don't really know much, because I'd love to give you a time that it'll be released, or a name or anything about, but it's kind of all undecided at the moment, so all up in the air.
It's nice when you ask a band about any sneak peeks about the album and even they don't know anything about it. I've mentioned a bit how you've been signed, obviously very jealous, but regardless, how did you end up signing to the label that you're on now?
It started with we worked quite closely with a label that's based in York called Young Thugs, which is run by Johnny Hooker, who does the studio, based out of South Bank Social Club, and Dave Greenbrown, who's I guess the other co-founder, and Dave was managing us for quite a while, I guess about a year or something, leading up to the signing, and he was contacted by the managing director of EMI, who was just really interested in what was going on in the music scene in York, and saw through researching. I think he came across a video by my good friend Bonnie, who plays with a band called the Baylors, and he saw her video and got in contact with Young Thugs, because I think they were the ones who'd released it, and got chatting with Dave and said, I'd love to know more about the York music scene, come and see some bands. So Dave let him know about a gig that Bonnie had and a gig that we had on the same night, I think. So this guy came down and saw us. We were supporting a band called Warm Dusha at the Crescent.
Alright.
And he watched the gig, and then we hung out that night, and he kind of he didn't give us the contract there and then, but kind of let us know that he was going to sign us that night. So it was
fucking hell. That's pretty fucking cool. I like the fact that he's sort of someone from EMI just want to know more about York. Get me some gigs, and then you've got it. Like, that is really cool. The other thing I wanted to mention in terms of York, there's a few people I've spoken who said bands have like went to Leeds or Manchester to get in that scene because there's more recognition or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel that it's important for the people to come to York rather than you go elsewhere? Like, what's your thoughts and opinions on that sort of?
Yeah, I mean, I hope that this will be the start of kind of. I think the idea with this signing is that it's hopefully going to be the beginning of a relationship between Young Thugs and some other labels based in the north of England that will hopefully start this relationship with EMI, which will mean less people having to move to London to make it, for want of a better word, which I think you're right, a lot of people do think that, and not necessarily just London, but moving to bigger cities. And I hope this is just it kind of shows that you can, as long as you stick at it and you we've been at it for a long time, but I think it's nice that we didn't have to make that move to a bigger city to get some recognition, and hopefully more people will be paying attention to places like York, and hopefully coming to see, because we've got some great venues as well. So
I think like venues are really good, and I do like, because people don't. I think I don't get with some people is that they think that moving to the city, you move to Manchester or Leeds or whatever, because you're looking for the music scene and the contacts and stuff. But I don't think people realise that taking music scenes like, let's say, in the late 80s and early 90s, the Glaswegian scene of indie pop, and then obviously the Seattle grunge scene and stuff, like, there was nothing there for any of them. There was never any, like, no one looked to those places. But then what happened was those places became self-sufficient, and because of that, they exploded with lots of fantastic bands that both me and you will obviously love, and thousands, if not millions, of other people love. And I think people need to understand that moving to these places doesn't necessarily mean, oh, that's good. You should be able to stay where you are, and sometimes it's not possible. Like some fucking village, like where there's 50 people, you can't really do it then. But I feel like somewhere like York, there's lots of like really good bands who we've seen or we've heard of or who have just started up. And I think people need to try and stay in York. Not like please stay, but they don't have to leave. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, yeah. It's and it feels like, I mean, you guys are a uni band, so that's great. I feel like that's such a big part, because York is such a big student town. There's so many young people kind of coming in and out that you could that's a huge market for young people wanting to go out and see live music. So it kind of makes sense that it would be a good place for it, I think.
Yeah, I think with it as well as like talking about the university thing is sort of like I'm under the impression that my band are going to be staying in York beyond university because we're happy with what we're doing. We think we're doing some good stuff. We're enjoying it, and it just makes sense not to leave. Like, why would you leave somewhere when you have lots of good things to go back home? Well, there are still good things, but you want these things at the place where you are at university. And I know a lot of people who come to university and then just go after 3 years, and it's sort of a bit like it's a bit of a waste of time, really. I think, like,
yeah,
you should move somewhere. Like, in terms of university, you should move somewhere because not only you want to go to the university because you love the place, and that's my position with York. It's the rest of the band's position, really, and I think people need to kind of have that a bit more, I believe.
Yeah, that's great.
So obviously all the songs that were on before being signed on Spotify are being taken off. Did you have any sort of like emotions or any sadness to seeing all the stuff on Spotify just taken away? And then even though you've got stuff on now, did you feel a bit sad about it or not? Really?
I guess there was a little bit of sadness when we were taking them down, just because I don't know, maybe not sadness really, because we've always known that they were going to come back,
Yeah.
And well, actually, we were planning. We thought they'd be coming back sooner than they are. Actually, the album's been pushed back a bit because of the current state we're in. But yeah, I don't think we were too upset about it. But we did get some messages from people kind of either being slightly upset or slightly angry, even just being like, "What are you doing? Where have the songs gone?" Which is, yeah. It's sad to feel like you've ruined someone's day by taking down their favourite song or something. But yeah, no, we just have to keep telling people they'll be back very soon.
Well, the thing is, I mean, these people who are missing the songs, we now have proof that they are going to come back in some form. And maybe not necessarily sadness like, oh, sadly gone, is it sort of they were gone and it was kind of each song had their own little story, and that like it got put on Spotify by use. It's sort of more what I was leaning to. It was sort of getting like cleaning the slate for now of songs which had like each their own little stepping stone.
Yeah, I guess so. It's it felt a little bit weird. It was kind of like we were like wiping away history a little bit.
Yeah.
With taking down things like the songs and even like pictures of our first album and stuff like that. It felt a bit like, but I mean, it's completely understandable. I guess it's much easier to market someone as a new band, if you like, and get some excitement building up about it than like, here's a band that's been around for 10 years and now you've just heard of them. Yeah.
because I mean, to be honest with you, when I saw Perfect Teeth wasn't on Spotify anymore, I did first think like, fucking bastards, teeth. But then it might have been the same day that we got the vinyl, so I was like, oh, it's all fine.
Yeah.
It's not on vinyl. So moving away from being signed and labels and all that important shit. Obviously, outside of this interview, I asked about the band's image, and quite stupid's not the word, naive of me to originally have a question about Tom and the way he looks. It went absolutely past my fucking head that he could have had a condition, that condition being alopecia. I just thought that he was fucking some cool dude who basically just wanted his own sort of way. So I had to obviously take a step back. It gives a kind of half apology because the message read, "Oh, don't worry, it's fine." So I was like, "Oh, okay then." But in terms of his alopecia, obviously I know you're not Tom, but has it ever made it harder in a band or not at all?
I don't think so. I mean, yeah, I couldn't really comment on his experience with it, but he's had it for well, as long as I've known him anyway, and it doesn't really factor in much, to be honest, day to day. I mean, you kind of you forget that he has it, I guess. But it is, I guess it is, yeah, like you said, it's quite a recognizable out there look, which I don't really think about. But yeah, I think if anything, I guess it's he's very memorable. He's a very memorable guy. I guess not just from his appearance, but you know, when you meet him, he makes an impact. So I guess that's probably a good thing for being in a band. You know, you meet new people a lot and other bands, and so he always makes a good impression, I think.
Yeah, well, I think in terms of it though, it's good that it shows that people who can have disabilities like this, if we call them, like alopecia, or not even alopecia, some people who might actually be physically disabled, or some people who have extreme anxiety or whatever it is, you can still do it. And I think that's something that comes across, which is really nice, is that you're a band who have been around for quite a while now, and you've been signed. Elton John's fucking playing you. Everything's looking up. You're gonna have an album and stuff, but and this, he has alopecia, and it shows it doesn't really matter. And I think that's a really lovely sort of thing. Like, he doesn't have to worry about it in any shape or form. He can just fucking be himself, and people will love him for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So just to summarise on band image, because I spoke to Faux Pas about this, Roof from Faux Pas about image, and he was talking about how important it is in sort of music now, and how some people look for image over substance. And I was just wondering, how important do you feel image is in a band?
I don't know really. My favourite bands have always been not for this reason, but they just always are, like bands like Pixies and Pavement. They kind of look like completely unremarkable. Do you know what I mean? Like they don't have stage attire. They just play in whatever they're wearing, usually like t-shirt and jeans or whatever. So I guess in terms of, but that in itself is a look and an image. You know what I mean? It's a kind of I don't think it's a conscious decision on their part. I think they just weren't really interested in the theatrics and like dressing up. So, but I mean, it's still a decision that's made. I think I'd never be put off by a band that kind of embraced those sort of the more theatrical image, like David Bowie or something like that. And I love all that. But I think we definitely kind of err on the side of the Pavement and Pixies of the world, you know, just the people who are just, I guess, not really changing what you wear on stage and off stage. You just
you.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah,
think like
I don't think we're particularly flamboyant dressers off stage, so it would make sense that we don't look that way on stage.
because I think in regards to like, I mean, I agree entirely. Like, I'm not that. I don't dress in it. I dress how I am on and off stage. But I think it's sort of it's good like that, and I feel like I'm very glad to be a part of that sort of musical genre in a scene that is you be you, and being you is the coolest thing in the world. Like,
Yeah.
if you can't, if you don't like that, then first of all you're fucking weird. You need to get a bit of self-love in you. But I think, I mean, you mentioned David Bowie there in terms of who does the theatricals, but I feel like, it's David Bowie really, isn't it? Like,
Yeah, but I guess he was famously not him, you know. He'd reinvent himself for every album and become a different person. So it's yeah, I guess that's the other extreme, which is equally cool, I guess.
yeah.
Just completely different thing.
But I think it is sort of the thing with like Pixies and Pavement is sort of, I've said this to a couple of times about my dad in like 1990 when he'd like got Doolittle, and he listened to Doolittle and he's sort of like, fucking hell, this is an amazing album. And then it said it's Top of the Pops, and he's like, oh, and here we have the Pixies. And my dad was like really like eager to see them, and then he saw them and he's like, what? They're just people.
Just regular people, yeah.
Just normal dudes. And it's sort of like, and I think that forever is the thing, is sort of a normal person can do great things with music, and that's absolutely fine. And as I said, it's the coolest thing in the world.
Yeah.
But on that bombshell, we reached the final round, which I've hidden from all interviewees, and it's a quick fire round. So I'm going to throw some questions at you. Obviously, responses as soon as physically and mentally possible. So the first question is, what's your favourite biscuit?
Ooh, bourbon.
Hey, bourbons, custard creams, and ginger nuts seem to be the reoccurring ones. Ginger nuts and custard creams probably more than bourbons, so a bit of an outlier. But people said ginger nuts for dipping in tea and coffee, as expected. Custard creams has been for the biscuit and the cream, so similar goes for bourbon. But I do like a fucking good bourbon.
Yeah.
And I got told Sainsbury's do vegan bourbons, or all the bourbons are vegan.
All bourbons are vegan. That is factors into my answer. I would have probably 10 years ago. I would have said custard creams, but I'm a vegan myself. So.
Have you made the move?
I have, yeah. I've always been a vegetarian, but the last 4 or 5 years I've been vegan. So that's why I don't eat many biscuits anymore. That's the thing. But bourbons, yeah, they're a nice treat.
What's it like? Have you enjoyed being vegan? Are you enjoying the benefits, or is it just life?
Yeah, it's just kind of normal. I'm not don't really think about it too much, but yeah, I guess I miss some stuff sometimes, but not really. Kind of once you got your cupboard stocked, you know, you kind of limit yourself. You don't have to think about it now.
True. Do you miss custard creams?
Yeah.
Next question is vanilla or chocolate ice cream, or vegan. We'll put vegan in front of them.
I would say vanilla.
Vanilla.
Yeah, classic, simple.
Can't go wrong. To be fair, at my old work, they started doing vegan milkshakes, and they started using vegan vanilla ice cream. And I had like a taste of it, and I think I enjoyed it more than normal vanilla, because it was just like you taste it, you saw like this is vegan. This just tastes the same.
Yeah. The weird thing is you can get things that are like super creamy, like the oat milk. If you get the full fat oat milk, it's like creamier than milk. It's so rich. So it's like, yeah, kind of. You can get ice cream like that as well. That's like ridiculously creamy, even though it's not cream.
Better than that regular shit. Next question is, what's your favourite Quentin Tarantino film?
Ooh, that's toughy. I would say I do think Pulp Fiction is a masterpiece, but it's also probably everyone's favourite. So just to be a little bit different, probably my personal favourite is Jackie Brown.
Jackie Brown. See, Jackie Brown's a bit of I would say an outlier, because people like Jackie Brown, but I feel like Jackie Brown kind of gets pushed down because of like Reservoir Dogs, Pulp Fiction, and then his like latest ones. But my favourite one, I'd probably say, is Inglourious Basterds.
Yeah.
Because that was the first one that I watched, but it was just like start to finish, I thought it was genius. And have you seen Once Upon a Time in Hollywood?
Yes.
What did you think of it?
I really enjoyed it, actually. I know it got mixed reviews, but I love that kind of. I don't want to spoil it for any listeners who haven't seen it, but I love that kind of slow burn and then like explosion at the end. You know?
Because when I was watching it, I was because I liked it before the massive explosion at the end, we'll call it, and I was enjoying it because it was like, I thought it was quite old school Tarantino for him, because I feel like Inglourious Basterds, Django, and Hateful Eight, they were sort of, I would put them as a group, like they were that kind of thing, and then this was kind of going back to sort of that like the Pulp Fiction sort of thing, where it's just like casual talk and then something shocking happens, and you go, oh, okay.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Maybe a little bit more stylish in a way.
The next question is Jack Black or Frank Black?
Again, really tricky. Probably one of my favorite films of all time is School of Rock. Inspired me to be a musician.
Inspired me to be a fucking musician as well.
But also, Pixies are probably in my top 3 bands of all time. So I'm gonna say Frank Black. But that is honestly one of the hardest questions I've ever been asked.
Because I watched because obviously Jack Black, Kung Fu Panda, one of masterpieces of a film. And when I watched the second one properly, and then the third one, I didn't even know there was a third one. I was very surprised that both sequels were very good. But yeah, and also Frank Black, I mean, created, well, one of the 4 who created fantastic alternative music.
Yeah, genius. But actually, I'm also a huge fan of Jack Black's music. Tenacious D was one of the first albums I owned, which was actually, I didn't own it. I got it burnt from the library. My dad burnt it for me onto CD, and I think I must have been about 9 or 10, and it's an extremely inappropriate album. So he burnt it for me onto a disc, and then said, right, I've listened to this, and it's got some pretty choice language, but I think you'll be all right with it. He just wrote like Tenacious D explicit on the CD. Let me have it anyway.
I remember when people used to burn things, like where you get like a CD or whatever, and you like burn like an album on it or something, or like a DVD. We used to have fucking loads of them, and like downloading offline on like dodgy torrent websites, where you'd be like, oh, I've got 5 Trojan horses now because I tried to download fucking Kung Fu Panda or something. You'd be like, back in the day, like 10 years ago. Oh, it was such a long time ago, wasn't it? And then the last question, to sum up the whole interview, describe Bull in 1 word.
Fun.
Very apt. After the things we've discussed and the way you describe how the name came around, I think fun is a good way of encapsulating it. And that's it. We've reached the end. As per, I've had a wonderful time. It's been very enjoyable. It's nice to speak with someone who's being run by men in suits now.
Yeah, they're pulling the strings.
Have you got 2 either side of you?
I'm being held at gunpoint. case I make the wrong answer.
So yeah, thanks for watching, everyone. That's it from Cheesy Beans this week. We'll be here, same time, same place, next Sunday. You know the drill. You know the fucking score. So wave to everyone watching. Wave to everyone watching. Bye-bye.
Bye.